The year is 1940, and Europe is engulfed in flames. The Nazis have overrun France, and Britain stands alone. The rest of the world watches as this small island nation prepares for what seems like an inevitable fall. Yet against all odds, there is one voice that rises above the chaos, a voice that refuses to succumb to fear. That voice is Winston Churchill's. As the German war machine tears through the continent, it becomes clear that Britain is next. But Churchill is not the type to surrender. He knows the stakes are higher than they have ever been. The survival of freedom, the very soul of civilization itself, rests on the shoulders of the British people. Churchill understands this better than anyone. He knows that they have no other choice but to fight. In the midst of a dark and desperate moment, Churchill takes to the airwaves with a speech that will be etched in history. "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets," he declares. His words, simple but powerful, ignite a spark of defiance in the hearts of every Briton listening. This is not just a speech. It is a declaration of resistance against tyranny. Churchill's call for unwavering resolve resonates across the globe as the British people stand united against a force unlike any they have ever faced. But this is not just about the people of Britain. Churchill knows that the world is watching. He speaks not only to the British nation, but to all the free nations of the world. His words are a plea for solidarity, a plea for help. Britain is alone, but it does not have to remain so. The fate of freedom hinges on their collective action. This speech, this moment in history, is the turning point that will shape the future. The world must understand what is at stake. If Britain falls, if the Nazis are allowed to continue unchecked, the consequences will be catastrophic. The stakes could not be higher. Churchill, with his characteristic defiance, refuses to let the world forget the gravity of the situation. He pulls no punches. He knows the risks of defeat and what it would mean for the future of civilization. He does not shy away from the truth. There is no promise of an easy victory. No illusions are made. The road ahead is uncertain and fraught with peril. But Churchill insists that Britain will not give in to fear, will not give in to despair. Churchill's words reverberate through the airwaves as the nation braces for what is to come. His speech is a declaration of strength in the face of overwhelming adversity. He acknowledges the darkness that surrounds them, but refuses to let it swallow them whole. His vision of resistance is not one of mere survival. It is a vision of defiance and honor. Britain will not only resist, but it will also fight back. Every British citizen feels the weight of Churchill's words. They are no longer just individuals trying to get by in a world on the brink of destruction. They are part of something much larger than themselves. They are part of a fight that transcends borders, a fight for the preservation of freedom and democracy. The fate of the world is on their shoulders. As Churchill continues, he paints a vivid picture of the resolve and determination that will carry them through. "We shall never surrender," he promises. These are not just words. They are a commitment to the ideals that have made Britain a beacon of freedom in a world of oppression. Churchill's call is a lifeline in a time of darkness. It is a reminder that even in the face of the greatest challenges, the human spirit is capable of incredible courage. But Churchill knows that this fight will not be easy. The world is watching, and the stakes have never been higher. The question is, will the people of Britain heed the call? Will they rise to the challenge or succumb to the weight of fear? The answer will come not from their words, but from their actions. As the speech continues, Churchill makes it clear that the fight is not just against the Nazis. It is a fight against the very forces that seek to crush freedom, to suppress the light of democracy. The enemy is not just a military force. It is an ideology, a totalitarian ideology that seeks to wipe out the principles of liberty that Britain holds dear. This is why they must fight. This is why they cannot afford to lose. And yet, despite the overwhelming odds, Churchill's words serve as a rallying cry for the British people. It is no longer just about survival. It is about resistance. It is about standing up against tyranny and saying no. Churchill's words are a catalyst for a movement that will reshape the course of history. But even as Churchill speaks, the reality of the situation sets in. The threat is real. The danger is imminent. Britain stands on the edge of a precipice, and the future of the world hangs in the balance. The stakes have never been clearer. It is now or never. The question is, will Britain rise to the occasion, or will it fall into the clutches of darkness? The message has been delivered. The call to action has been made, and Britain stands at the precipice. The determination in Churchill's voice still rings in the air. "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds." His words echo as the nation braces for what is to come. The reality of the situation sets in. Britain has no choice but to stand firm. The storm is here, and the battle will be fierce. The fate of the world is about to be determined. As the days progress, the full weight of the Nazi threat becomes apparent. The German war machine has been unstoppable across Europe. The fall of France was a devastating blow. It left Britain exposed and vulnerable. The German forces were closing in on the British Isles, and there was no certainty that Britain could withstand their onslaught. Yet Churchill's words reverberate through the halls of power, through the streets, and into the hearts of every British citizen. We shall fight. It is a promise, a pledge to stand tall, no matter what happens. But the first weeks of the war are grim. The German Luftwaffe bombards British cities with terrifying precision. The Battle of Britain begins, and the skies above the English Channel are filled with death. Bombs rain down on London and other major cities. The British people face unimaginable suffering. The streets are filled with the sounds of explosions, sirens, and the screams of the innocent. Yet, amid the devastation, something extraordinary happens. The spirit of resistance only grows stronger. The British people do not buckle under pressure. Instead, they rise. Families gather in shelters, soldiers hold their ground, and citizens take to the streets with an unwavering determination to continue the fight. The British military, though outnumbered and outgunned, refuses to yield. In the skies, the RAF takes to the air, engaging the Luftwaffe in intense dogfights. The Battle of Britain is a pivotal moment in history. Britain cannot afford to lose. Every fight in the air, every victory over the German plains, is a crucial step in the battle for survival. But even as the military fights on, the reality of the war becomes even more personal. As the bombs fall, families are torn apart. Men and women in their prime are sent off to battle, never to return. Entire neighborhoods are destroyed. The civilian toll is staggering, but Britain remains resolute. They understand the stakes. This is not just a fight for territory or pride. This is a fight for the very soul of civilization. This is a battle for the freedom of every man, woman, and child. And Churchill, ever the steadfast leader, continues to inspire the nation. His speeches, his calls for resistance, give the British people the courage they need to keep going. As the war rages on, Churchill refuses to let them forget what they are fighting for. In his words, there is no surrender. There is only victory or defeat. The cost of failure is too great. He knows that the world is watching. The actions of the British people will determine the future of freedom. They cannot afford to falter. The tide of the war begins to turn, but it does so slowly. Every victory is hard won. The Battle of Britain, a pivotal victory in the skies, proves that the Nazi war machine is not invincible. It proves that with determination, anything is possible. The air superiority of the Luftwaffe is broken, and with it, a critical piece of the German plan is thwarted. But the Nazis are far from defeated. Their forces continue to press on, and the fight in Europe grows fiercer by the day. And yet Britain continues to resist. With each passing day, the resolve of the British people strengthens. They stand their ground, knowing that if they falter, the consequences will be dire. As the months stretch into years, the war escalates. The Germans launch attacks across Europe, and the Allies fight back on all fronts. But in Britain, the battle for survival becomes personal. The nation is united by a common cause, to preserve the freedoms that are under siege. The war becomes more than just a military conflict. It becomes a fight for the preservation of everything Britain holds dear. In the face of adversity, the Allies begin to unite. As Churchill continues to lead Britain, the rest of the world takes notice. The United States, which had initially hesitated to enter the war, begins to take a more active role. The defeat of the Nazis is no longer just the responsibility of Britain. It becomes a global cause. The free nations of the world must come together to fight the forces of oppression. Churchill understands this better than anyone. He knows that the only way to defeat the Nazi regime is through unity. He works tirelessly to build alliances, to ensure that Britain is not alone in its struggle. The United States, the Soviet Union, and other nations join forces, each playing their part in the fight. The tide of the war begins to shift. But even as victory seems possible, the war is far from over. Every advance is met with resistance. Every victory comes at a heavy cost. Yet, Churchill remains a symbol of strength and determination. His leadership inspires not only the British people, but also the global community. His vision of a world free from tyranny becomes a rallying cry. The defeat of the Nazis becomes more than just a military objective. It becomes a moral imperative. Every victory brings them one step closer to the world they hope to create, a world where freedom and democracy are safeguarded for generations to come. As the war progresses, the reality of its toll becomes clearer. The cost of the war is incalculable. Millions of lives are lost. Cities are destroyed. Families are torn apart. The global economy is in ruins. The effects of the war will be felt for decades to come. But through it all, Britain holds firm. The people of Britain never lose sight of what they are fighting for. They understand that the stakes are too high to fail. Their resolve remains unbroken. Churchill's call for resistance has inspired a nation, and in turn, the world. His words were more than just a speech. They were a declaration of defiance against tyranny. They were a call to action. And though the battle was long and hard, the Allies eventually emerge victorious. The Nazis are defeated, and the world breathes a collective sigh of relief. But the war's impact lingers long after the guns fall silent. The world has been irrevocably changed. The victory is not just for Britain, but for every free nation. As the dust settles, Churchill's words continue to resonate. His leadership in the face of adversity ensured that Britain remained strong, and that the forces of tyranny were pushed back. But the war was not just won through military might. It was won through resolve. Churchill's speech, and the courage it inspired, played a pivotal role in the survival of Britain and the defeat of the Nazis. In the end, Churchill's leadership, his call for resistance, and the unwavering spirit of the British people proved to be the defining factors in the Allied victory. It was not an easy victory, but it was one that came at great cost. And though the war is over, the world will never forget the lessons learned during those dark days. Churchill's legacy is a testament to the power of resistance, of standing firm in the face of overwhelming odds, and of never surrendering. It is a legacy that will continue to inspire generations to come. The world was forever changed because of that moment, and the price of freedom is never easy. The question remains, will we be ready to fight again if faced with such darkness? The answer depends on our resolve, our courage, and our ability to stand united in the face of tyranny.